I am the conductor of these meetings. I basically make sure that everyone acts properly. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. We have a lot of new guests today that we're welcoming for in celebration of Soil Health Week, which is this week. So we're going to have a little bit of a different format than we normally have for the IFSCC meetings. This is going to be more of a webinar kind of information sharing. And if you like what you see here and you're new, you have been in touch with Amy Bartucci, and you can contact her if you would like to come to these meetings in the future. So welcome everyone, new and old friends. We are always welcoming new people, and we are very happy to have this collaboration coming together. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition, and mostly about our efforts in something that we take great pride in, which is International Compost Awareness Week in Illinois. And this year, International Compost Awareness Week is the first week of May. So this week, soil enthusiasts like yourselves have had the opportunity to attend over 25 in-person and virtual farm tours and educational events across Illinois. And you've been diving deep into climate discussions and hearing from experts on why soil should be protected and celebrated. So there's lots of opportunities. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it seems like this event will only grow. And if you've been with the IFSCC for a long time, you've known that ICAW has grown in the same way. So we're looking forward to kind of this synergy between our two organizations, and hope that these kinds of events can keep happening. We have a lot of presenters today that are going to talk to you about all the different things that Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition is involved with ICAW. We are joined by Merlan. She is the chair of ICAW in Illinois. She is an IFSCC board member, and she's been a longtime advocate for the advancement and promotion of compost and composting. Merlan works as a programs outreach and education director for SWALCO, and she works with municipalities, community groups, and a variety of organizations on many environmental initiatives and waste diversion efforts, including food waste issues. She has worked with communities to implement curbside programs, educated on the importance of utilizing compost, instructed many residents about the variety of composting opportunities, and she loves to highlight the tremendous value of compost. We also have Betsy with us today. Betsy works as a technical assistance group at the Zero Waste team at the ISTC. She wrote her thesis on the adaptive reuse of shopping mall spaces and is passionate about reducing waste of all kinds. She has a BA Environmental Studies from the College of St. Benedict and St. John's University, and also has the True Zero Waste certification. Welcome, Betsy. We also are joined by Liz Kunkel. Liz is a Winnetka native and founder and president of Go Green Winnetka, which kicked off in 2011 with lots of help. Liz comes at sustainability through zero waste, food waste reduction, and composting work, and she is an avid compost practitioner and advocate. She's an active member of the Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition and the U.S. Composting Council. While practicing trademark law for 20 plus years, Liz established the green teams at local schools and was appointed to Winnetka's Environmental and Forestry Commission. In 2019, she shifted away from law and has since worked for Collective Resource Compost Cooperative as a zero waste consultant, the Illinois Environmental Council as a zero waste policy manager, and now she is the new customer success manager for Recycle Coach in the state of Illinois. And finally, we're also joined by Benjamin, who is our executive director of the IFSCC. He's previously served the organization as chairman, vice chair, board member, and chair of the Compost Market Development Committee. IFSCC is the Illinois chapter of the U.S. Composting Council, which Benjamin has been a member of since 2016, as well as being a member of the chapter advisory committee since January of 2024. So you can see that we have a lot of really wonderful presenters that are going to walk us through all the great things that IFSCC is doing with ICAW and beyond. So the mission of the Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition is that we are a thriving non-for-profit organization advancing diversion and composting of all organics in Illinois through advocacy, program implementation, market and business development, policy, and outreach. Those are also our committees, which we're going to get to a little bit later this evening or this afternoon. And our vision is that we envision a future where all Illinoisans see organic materials as a valuable resource, and we are urgently taking action to rescue edible food and divert food scraps to avoid emissions and to restore nutrients to the soil through the creation and use of compost. And so ICAW is the largest and most comprehensive education initiative in the compost industry. It's celebrated through the first full week of May throughout the US and internationally. The goal of ICAW is to work together to raise public awareness on why we should all be composting our organics and using compost to create healthier soil. This program includes a poster contest held in the fall and thousands of activities and events held throughout the first week of May. And throughout the week of ICA, events are held all over the world with communities, schools, governments, and business planning different activities to encourage and celebrate composting, all types of composting, from backyard to large scale. And so this year, the ICA theme reflects the goal of highlighting composting in all kinds of communities and at any scale, from the backyard home composter and community composters to large-scale facilities and all of those who recognize the many benefits of using compost in our soils and in our communities. So I'm going to switch over to the website. I'm going to stop my share for a second, and we're going to turn it over to Amy Bartucci in a moment.
Great. Oh, you know what, Amy, can you leave those slides for me to see, and then we'll get to the
Oh,
website?
sure.
Thanks so much. I just want to kind of walk us through each of these and just say one by one. First of all, thank you to everyone who's new. Second of all, during this little time, I wanted to share some of the other Soil Health Week events that you can be able to participate in. The Illinois Stewardship Alliance has been doing this for a few years, and it seems kind of serendipitous that so has the IFSCC with the ICA work across the state. So today's agenda is that we will use the website to be able to show you some of the things that we use as our own promotional tools as well as yours. Next slide. We're going to talk about what we call adventures in composting, which was Merlan's idea, to be really center everybody to be driving around in a thrilling, sort of enthusiastic way to find something in their corner of Illinois that we call an adventure. So we're looking for hosts to be able to do that. And this has been growing each year since 2023. Next slide. We're going to talk about give backs, what that means, either a bring your own container, bring your own bucket, or a gift back or a give back. All of these things have different terminology, but what it is basically getting compost in the hands of users, whether you are a farmer or a grower or a gardener, somebody who would like to work on your landscaping. Compost is black gold, so this is a guide that Merlan will tell us about. Next slide. Then we'll get to Betsy, who's going to talk about, I had Caroline on this slide, but we're going to have Betsy, the young professional, who will collaborate and has talked a lot about how to give the hosts the resources needed to run their event in their neck of the woods in Illinois. So this is full of resources that we'll learn about. And next slide. We'll have Liz and Merlan talk about our virtual events, and make sure you check the chat for some of those registration links coming soon, because we're going to make certain all of our activities are well attended throughout that first week of May. And next slide. We're going to just spend a minute over talking about compost market development and some of our partners and members who are offering some discounts and also have offered to be on hand to be able to help you have access to compost for your event if needed, or if you aren't even running an event, we just want to have you know that there are specials during the week of ICA. My role right now was to basically give Amy a breath of fresh air because we had a lot to talk about it right at the beginning. But then at the end of the walkthrough of the website, we'll get back on to some of these important things that Benjamin will close us out with, some of the IFSCC membership information, as well as what this coalition is doing to kind of cap off the week with International Compost Awareness Week. So Amy, you can take us over to the website if you don't mind. And I believe Merlan will be ready to get us going with the adventures, talking about that. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. You know, when the thing gets in your way. Here we go. What? Good job, Merlin. You see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the website. So you're going to take us over to ICA?
Yep, that's right.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Oh, there we are. Okay.
Okay, Merlan, you can take it over.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming out today. And I think somebody had asked in the chat, you know, how can I submit an event or get involved? Please feel free to reach out. We've got a ton of resources and people on the team who can help brainstorm with you and share some of the things that have been done in past. So I think we're going to talk about adventures here. And this was something, was it maybe 3 2-3 years ago, our team was brainstorming together, how could we bring more people out, not only to get involved and bring composting events and programming to their corners of the Illinois world, and but also how could we get them to become more aware of IFSCC and all the work we're doing. So, and as you can see in this collage, we had and I think last year, I think it was over 70 different adventures taking place all over the state. We're really trying to get, more infrastructure set up in the central Illinois and southern Illinois, but we had a lot of things going on all throughout the week. A lot of adventures happened to take place on the Saturday, opening Saturday and the closing Sunday, but we had things going on all throughout the week. We had and we even have a for we've been working on these slowly, but we had a guide for libraries and park districts with resources for them, the curated book list. We'll be walking through the toolkit later, but a special guide for these. And we're now working on a guide for schools and municipalities as well, to give them tools that they might need to put something together, ideas for what they could put together that might fit their appropriate organizations. We had everything from alpaca farm tours to that highlighted compost, to vineyard tours and wine tastings, farm festivals, story times at the library, story times in the garden, compost building demos, how-to demos, compost. And the other wonderful thing was, not only did we have other organizations that were getting involved, but we could highlight some of our members, some of our member organizations as well, who were hosting some of these demos as well. So with the adventures, we do, and I think we're going to be walking kind of through the website, all the adventures too. The other wonderful thing we have, whether somebody has the bandwidth to put together a whole program, a whole day, or even multiple days of programming. If they don't, we have this wonderful toolkit, which Betsy will be walking us through later, of resources. And it includes all kinds of things just to set up an info and resource table. So kind of all the work's almost done for you. You just have to kind of pick and choose and highlight, print up what you like. Everything from kids' activities to how-to information, infographics there. So that's another, I think, wonderful resource we can offer any of our adventure people who would like to put something together. And maybe a good place to start if you're new, consider hosting just an info and resource table. Promote your curbside composting programs. We had one of our team members actually hosted a cocktails and composting in her backyard on her farm. And she had kitty cocktails even for the kids. So we had a lot of really, I thought, tremendously fun things, as well as really informative and educational programs as well. The especially we encourage most people to set up an info and resource table with whatever it was they were doing. The guides, I guess, again, to something we're kind of working on for a number of different organizations with kind of inspirational ideas. We did link to the map as they're showing there, so you could kind of see, and maybe you want to, for those who are getting out and wanting to join these adventures, you could map out and maybe hit up 2 or 3 different adventures throughout a week if they were located in the same region. So, and some people even partnered within communities. I know one of the townships that was hosting a seed giveaway and a compost give back event, she partnered with the alpaca farm. So they sort of had a little map, and people were able in that region to go and visit 2 or 3 different adventures within a day. And then I think as far as adventures, Betsy when we talk further, I think we'll have some dates of when, I think Benjamin will talk about when we're going to have some of this information up. But you can already, we have the links now if you want to submit an event. You know, you can go ahead and load that on now. One of the other types of adventures that we had was a compost give back. I think it may have even been Amy Bartucci who asked, because I had done a number of these. We call it a give back because it's our own food, landscape waste that's coming back from our own homes, but brought to us in this, you know, beautiful, wonderful, beneficial form of compost. And so it's coming back to us, we're giving it back. And it's offering, you know, a certain amount of compost. We also call them BYOBs, bring your own bucket. So we have people there, shovels, info. And I always encourage people to put a sign in the top of the pile to let people know. So there's another educational moment we can take, let them know where this came from, why it's important to utilize compost. And we say at all events, if it's possible, for people to be able to see, smell, touch, and feel compost, so they can really, you know, there may be people out there who don't know what compost looks like. So that was one of the other elements we said too, if we can kind of have all the senses around this. But I think it was Amy Bartucci who said, you know, it'd be nice to have a guide on how to host and coordinate one of these things. So I did put, and it was actually a little more comprehensive than I thought. It's a 5-page guide. There's some graphics and photos in there too. I have an image of one of the signs that I've used in the past that might be helpful. And if somebody wants to do that and would like a template, reach out. We're happy to. I think that'll be a next step, is maybe getting a template in there that people can use themselves, putting their own information in. But I also want to thank Jenny Futterman, who's also on the team. After I finished the guide, I threw it her way to kind of check and see if she had anything, because I know she's done a couple in her community too. So, but this is a really wonderful opportunity to be able to get a lot of people to come out from the community. And again, if you've got the compost pile there, the give back, you can put an info and resource table set up. You can have a children's activity program set up, and we keep adding to the educational resources for kids. We're working actually on a composting board game right now too. So again, I think that guide is in the toolkit, which Betsy will talk a little bit more about. So, and that the ideas and possibilities for programs, events are endless. So take a look at some of the things, and on our website, you can go back to 2024 and actually see a list of all of the different adventures from last year. So if you want a little inspiration, take a look at last year's events, and feel free to reach out to us too.
That's great,
Excellent.
Marilyn. I wonder if it would be great to get into that resources, the toolkit with Betsy next. Thank you.
All right, I can talk about the toolkit. So this started as a project between me and Caroline, who has done a lot of work on this and who can't be here today. So it started out as sort of what Merlan was talking about, a compilation of resources we've made before, resources for libraries. You know, a library will want to host something. They say to us, what books do we share? How do we do it? Someone wants to do a compost give back. I saw someone in the comments saying, how do I host something? This is everything we've ever compiled, put into one big page. So on the left, there's that how to host a compost give back that Merlan was talking about. There are a couple of where to buy finished compost and municipal composting programs. Those are maps that take you to the nearest people around you who can give you compost. There's resources. So if you want to rep IFSCC while you are at your table, at your library, or your park district or whatever, the tabling resources, the IFSCC logo, the tabling signage, that's all stuff that you can have on hand to really show your pride in IFSCC. On the right there, you'll see our library resources, the Park District resources. The Park District resources is actually, I was looking through that and it's just cool for everybody. Those are things that you don't have to be a park district to host. You can be a school, you can be a library, you could be a nonprofit in the area who wants to host something like this. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, there's a couple of more games and activities, coloring pages. There's more of those in that For the Kids button up there. Really just something for everybody, and a collection of resources that are not just for people who are already guaranteed to host an event. If you're not sure, if you don't know what you'll want to do or how to do it, this is the page to go. You can get here from the ICAW 2025 page, and then right at the top, there's a big sign or a big button that says go to host toolkit. So IllinoisComposts.org, go to that top right, go to events, get to Compost Awareness Week, and then there it is right there.
Betsy, thank you so much for getting like as a sub and then also so connected to the project. I just want to also thank you for being a young professional, because it took a few years and we had more of a PDF of a toolkit, and it took a young professional and just a little bit of time, but maybe it felt like a lot of time to you, but try to redesign a PDF into a web tab, which is so much more user-friendly and accessible. And the ICOD team was very, very enthusiastic behind the work that you and Caroline did. So thank you.
Shout out to the IFSCC Young Professionals group. We are accepting people. I'm not a leader in it, Caroline is, but I really enjoyed it. It's for people who are either new to the compost industry specifically, or people who are just young professionals who want to get connected to people, meet people. There might be a happy hour coming up, which young professionals are all about sometimes. Really just a good group, and I encourage everybody to check that out if you can.
Thank you so much, Betsy. It would be my turn. I think Amy D is going to take us on a ride over to the Compost Market Development tab that's pretty popular during this time of year for International Compost Awareness Week. I will say that it was a few months ago that we decided to ask our members who are IFSCC composters and processors to be able to be willing to engage with the public at the time of International Compost Awareness Week when people are looking to procure compost. So on the website, we have our members indicating with an asterisk who is an ICAW partner. You can see that will probably be a rolling commitment, I believe, because they want to sell their product, and this is what we're here for, is to make sure that compost is in the hands of individuals throughout the state. So you can take a look at this part of our website and find out an area business that has compost and work with them directly. Some of the folks that may be wanting to have a large volume of compost may have a different conversation than somebody who just says, I want to do this because I'm learning for the first time how important compost is for my garden. So this tab is not only for ICAW, it's for year-round use for you to understand how to find compost from our members in the state. A couple of specials are indicated on the website for ICAW. I wanted to draw attention to those, but also know that as more of our members are willing and able to communicate what their special is, you may see more details on this part of our site. So a big shout out to Midwest Organics Recycling in Northern Illinois, who's offering a special for procuring compost, and a second shout out for Midwest Organics Recycling, because they will be in a webinar with us for the second time today to do a Soil Health Week event. And this special will be seen by a lot of folks, not just in this room today, but at another event that has over 70 people registered for already. The other member is Green Soils Management. Kyla Harwick would be the person you would work with directly if you're interested in that special from Green Soils Management. And if you're a composter and you're on this call and you want to offer a special, can you please send me an email and we'll just update the website? I was trying to get to folks last week and I couldn't find the inbox, the email I had sent everyone. So I think I need to start fresh again and get y'all looking at this to see if you want to participate in the special for ICAW, which will be the first week of May. So I don't know if there's questions about our website drive-through before we move into the second half of our presentation, but I did want to point out a question that I had seen come through the chat that Merlin, I'm not certain if you saw, but somebody was asking about posters and how we want to address the having access to the ICAW poster. Did you think there was a web link we should direct everyone to, or how are we managing that with Illinois?
So the person from CREF, which is the Compost Research and Education Foundation, who typically coordinated all of this for all the states and global partners in ICAW Week, retired after a number of years. So there's a new gentleman there. In past, our team has received a number of free, no cost posters. They're really lovely. It will be the image of the winning poster from this year. And I've gotten those out to kind of its first come, first serve. Luckily, they've sent me a decent number of them each year. But it'll be first come, first serve. If you've registered as an adventure, we send those out to folks who want to like display those, frame those, and use them for their events, and hopefully, hang them in their offices or buildings or, wherever after the events too. So I'm hoping that's still going to be the case. You can purchase them. I think they're anywhere from, they've been $10 to $20 in past each. You can purchase them on the CREF site. But hopefully we'll get our batch of posters again, and I'll be happy to get those out to any of our adventure sites.
Thank you, Merlan. I think we're going to pitch it back to Amy D, who is going to get us just into a little more of a grounding slide to get into some conversations related to our virtual events that will be happening during International Compost Awareness Week. So how about we go to Liz Kunkel to talk about the legislative lunch and learn?
Thanks, Amy. Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Kunkel. I'm the co-chair of the policy committee within IFSCC. I know my co-chair, Tommy Vaughn with Waste Not Compost is on the call. So the portion of ICAW that this portion that I've gotten involved with, that one of the virtual event, we call it a legislative lunch and learn, or 3L informally. And basically, it was something the policy committee was starting to do a few years ago when I stepped into the co-chair role, was just in general, do a better job of tracking food scrap and composting related legislation that's been introduced in the state of Illinois, and understand where it is in the process. Was it introduced and nothing happened with it? Is it current? Is it active? Was it enacted? What's its effect? And try to build a database, a bank of information related to compost and food scrap related legislation in the state, obviously to be a resource, as IFSCC wants to be. So then very specifically in connection with ICAW, I was involved with the planning efforts a number of years ago. And as we were settling in on this programming format of the adventures in composting, I offered to host and now co-host this legislative lunch and learn. Typically it happens on the Wednesday of ICAW each week. It can be flexible, but the Wednesday has tended to work out for us. And we treat it as a lunch and learn. So noon on Wednesday. So this year it will be Wednesday, May 7th. At 12 p.m. And the whole idea is that pretty uniquely in the state of Illinois, our legislative session happens to end at the end of May. And so given that ICAW happens each year at the beginning of May, it's a really unique time to take a pulse on what is happening in the legislative world in Illinois, and specifically with respect to food scrap and compost related legislation. Again, just as a general FYI for folks, and then to the extent, if anybody, some of these are bills and legislation that IFSCC might support and advocate for, but if not, we'll still share the information so that our members and affiliate organizations can make their own decisions about whether to support bills, because again, it's a pretty unique time to potentially help move things across the finish line, help them get voted on the floor of the House in which they were introduced, move them along in the process. And so at a minimum, we'll again sort of take that pulse, see what's pending. And I'm not going to share anything about the bills today, because the whole point is to see what's in play in May, and things that have been introduced now we may find out between now and May that they're not going to move forward, that for whatever reason. And so it doesn't make sense to talk about them right now. The whole point is let's see what's really in play in May and talk about it and see if there's anything that folks can do to move any of those initiatives forward. And then real quick, the other aspect of it is like Soil Health Week, we in the Food Scrap Coalition have sort of tailored the efforts of a more national effort to focus more specifically in Illinois. And so like ICAW, International Compost Awareness Week, one of the things I helped facilitate as a policy wonk a few years ago was I got my local my state senator, who happens to be the amazing Laura Fine, who's an amazing environmental advocate. And I have found out through working with the US Composting Council and CREF, the Compost Research and Education Foundation that hosts ICAW, I found out that the state of California had adopted a resolution the year prior to basically identify and recognize the first week of May in California as Compost Awareness Week. And it mirrors and dovetails with the theme, the dates, the justification. I mean, the rationale for choosing the theme for that year's ICAW programming. And it was just a one-page document, this resolution that was passed in California, and I have a legal background, and I was already in touch with Senator Fine on some other things. So long story short, she ended up introducing that resolution in 2021 on her own. It's now being introduced in 2025 as both a bill and a resolution in the state Senate and in the state House. I found a House representative who's also interested in having that conversation in the House and being the sponsor of that resolution in the House, which is really exciting. So part of the whole reason for doing, thank you, Betsy, part of the whole reason for doing the Lunch and Learn is to show people how your own ideas can become legislative action if that's the way you want to take them. Sometimes it can be that easy as having a decent idea and connecting with the right people in a legislative office and your elected officials to make something happen. It certainly helps when it's something like a resolution. It's easier than a bill, but anyway, things can happen. And so again, it's less about the advocacy around these bills than the education about where they are in the process and how people who may be interested in advocacy can take issues that they care about and take them to that next level. And the last thing I want to say really quickly, because the other person on the call, and I know is joined specifically, is my co-presenter for this Lunch and Learn, and it's Frank Pettis, also an amazing person. Frank is standing up the Lake County Environmental Justice Coalition. He's also, I think I can say this publicly, Frank, you're the newest member of the Statewide Recycling Needs Assessment Advisory Council. It has not had an environmental justice member. It's been low. It's been missing one of two members to represent environmental justice communities. And Frank was finally chosen as the representative. So he will participate in those discussions around statewide efforts around packaging, waste reduction, and those will implicate composting around compostables, but also composting more generally. So Frank, as my co-presenter in around the Lunch and Learn, he'll be presenting generally on the community compost aspect. And so the other piece of the Lunch and Learn is that obviously it's an overview of whatever legislation is pending in Illinois. Again, it is what it is, but we want to dovetail that with the larger ICAW theme of this year's Sustainable Communities Start with Compost. And Frank also, lucky for all of us, is an amazing dedicated community composter in his home community of Waukegan. So it's something else that he and I had connected about in general, one of the things that brought us together. So Frank's portion of the Lunch and Learn will be less legislative and more on the community compost piece and maybe some local aspects of policy, but less legislative specifically. So that's a plug and some context for the Lunch and Learn. So it'll be kind of the same format every year. Next year, I'll give another snapshot of the legislation that's pending, and then we'll have a co-presenter who's talking about, whatever the theme for ICAW is, and reflecting that in Illinois and for our local communities. I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. It was very comprehensive. I think we're going to move on to Benjamin.
I am
Is that right?
nothing if not comprehensive.
This is what we need. We don't want any skimpy laws out there.
This is
so
why you want me to track your legislation for you.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to hand over to Benjamin, who's going to.
Oh,
I'm gonna ping
thank
pong back to Merlan.
Actually, did I mess up the order?
Let's just have Merlan talk a second about
Okay.
the Compost Cafe, because there was a question
yes, that's right.
in the chat too about the in-person opportunity, if possible. I don't know if that's happening.
Yep, I will talk a little bit about Compost Cafe. And as Liz said, we've had a little bit of flexibility on dates, but typically the Lunch and Learn has been on Wednesdays at noon, and Compost Cafe has been on Thursday evenings, the next day at 7 in the evening. Last year we did actually try, and we may do that in future again. This year it's going to be all virtual, the cafe. Last year we did have some kind of simulcasting from different locations around the region, which was kind of fun. So we had live people kind of in different places all around, and we were presenting live last year too. And it was a lot of fun. But this year it will be virtual. This year's theme, as Liz had also talked about, sustainable communities begin with compost, was inspired by the United Nations Sustainable Development, one of their Sustainable Development Goals. And actually a couple of years ago in the cafe, we highlighted and kind of put out there that you really could take a number of those 17 goals that the UN has, and you could relate compost and composting and all the related topics of diversion and reduction and tie it to many of those UN's goals. So this year, the program title is Community Stories, and we're going to be sharing stories from the founder and executive director of LA Compost, who he's also just written a children's book, which we're going to show you a copy of a little bit later in the presentation here. Amy B. Bartucci has that. He's going to come and talk about how he grew up in the founding and some of the stories and share some of the work he's doing there. We have another wonderful speaker from Brazil to keep that international theme, who's going to be talking about stories there. And then we have some local, we always tie in some local Illinois groups. And this year, I think with all of these stories, the idea is to share how someone might either if you're not doing anything in your community, and a community could be a school community, it could be a library community, it could be a municipality. There are so many kinds of communities. I think municipalities, we're hoping we'll have a number of those folks attending this year, and they're all created very differently. In the community I live in, one municipality may have a public works department or a highway department of 1 or 2 people. Another may have 20, 30 people on staff. Some may not have a public works department at all. Some may not even have a building or staff, maybe one staff person. So they're all created differently, and they all have different resources that they can utilize. So the idea of this was to put a bounty, a buffet, a smorgasbord out there of ideas. So whether your community, again, a school community, a municipality, has this resource or that resource, whether you've dipped your toes into composting and composting activities and programs, or whether you haven't started at all but you're looking to, hopefully this will give you a little roadmap, some inspiration, ideas, and resources for how you can get started in your community, covering a number of different ways that you can incorporate this into your community. So we hope everybody, and the links are active, so you can sign up for both of those programs there. But I think, Liz has done an amazing job the last few years with the legislative lunch and learn, so much great information, and the cafe, I think too. I hope we'll see a lot of you come out and join us there. Thanks.
Thank you, Marlene. All that great information. I'll copy all the links into the chat for everyone, but also this is being recorded, as you know, and we will be sending out information after this conversation as well.
Yeah, let's leave that there. That's a good place to start. So I'm Benjamin, Executive Director here at IFSCC. So thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to start with the ICAW team. CREF, the national host, international host. You know, we've been getting shout outs at the national USCC meeting for the last 2 years. And that's only because of the hard work, the dedication that this team that assembles this event every year brings to us, the work they do and the programming they bring to us. So I'm going to say my personal thanks and let you guys know that you're in amazing hands. So a lot coming. The individual events, some of the smaller events, on-site events, the adventure events, all of that will be listed on the website, available by April 11th, but check the website regularly. And there's a link there just to the ICAW 2025. So there's a lot happening. You've heard a lot about it. It's amazing. You know, the soil health world is the compost world. The compost is the soil health world. So we're all the same family, just maybe sitting in different seats at the table. But and sometimes we're sitting on each other's laps. It's great. We're all good friends. I want to introduce you to the IFSCC if you're not already familiar. Talk about it being operating and being the full spectrum organization. So we run from the folks who just want diversion, want the food scraps removed from the landfill stream, don't care how it happens, just want to make sure that it happens, all the way through the haulers, the municipalities that might write those contracts, the businesses and individuals who might hire those companies, the composters themselves at commercial scale, and folks who are going to use that compost. We need the circularity. If we're going to gain the benefits of that compost we've created, we need to get it into the soil. There are so many different benefits, so many different use. We need to get the word out and use it. So it's a full spectrum of a community. We've got amazing talents at every touch point along the way. And this is a place for each and every individual who's interested in the whole campaign. I always talk about every prudent and responsible form of organics recycling. Different places have different needs. The community composters are critical. The commercial composters are critical, especially if we're going to do the diversion at the quantities that we're now talking about. That means that if you're the homeowner, if you're the resident, if you're the generator of those food scraps or those lawn clippings, you need to make sure you're not including a contaminant. Those contaminants affect the composters themselves. They affect the compost you want to use. And it's all of our mission to get the best diversion, the cleanest stream, and the healthiest compost back in to make the healthiest soils. So there's a place here for everybody. We certainly prefer membership and appreciate membership at any level, but you don't actually need to be a member of the organization to participate on committees, get involved, come to our monthly meetings. Hopefully you'll get engaged with us, feel that there's value, get excited and become a member. So we became an independent 501c3 that all postponed our membership drive, but we are in full swing. So there's a link on the website, page dedicated on the website. We're using a platform called Zephy. It's easy, it's comfortable. I've done it myself. I got to beta test and sent my membership in. So if you are able, please do join. If you're a member from 2024 and haven't renewed, please do renew. The new platform offers you opportunities to use many different payment forms, including Apple Pay, credit card, ACH transactions. It's quite neat. Zephy does not charge. This is just one heads up for you folks. Zephy does not charge IFSCC a service fee. So what they do ask is if you're willing to add a little bit of extra to your bill, but they have a drop down there, and some of the percentages that they request or offer as options, if you auto select from their list, pretty high rates, like an 8% or an 11% of total donation. You can do that if you like. That's great. That funds them. That helps them provide this service free to 501c3 organizations or other nonprofits. But you can choose whatever number you think is comfortable and appropriate. That won't appear on your tax receipt that's generated automatically. And we at IFSCC actually don't see that number either. So I just want to make that clear, just so nobody has any expectations that I can't deliver on. Yeah, so that's the organization, a great talent pool, very exciting committees, people doing a lot of really important and organized work. And we'd love to have you. If you're already a member, reach out to other folks who you think would be important to engage with us, whether for membership or just participation or just contacts and networking. And, if you have a young professional who would benefit, that group was launched in 2024 formally. What an amazing resource they have become. Just unbelievable energy, unbelievable contributions, and so appreciated by the whole team here. So I think that's, unless there's something on the next slide I'm supposed to look at. Let's see. These are our partners from 2024 at the silver, gold, and platinum levels. Get your logo up on the website so we can have this your information during the year posted on the website at events, and then certainly for next year to share this kind of a visual. This is a calendar at this point of events that are going to be going on during ICAW. And again, the blanks will be filled in. There are library programs and adventures every day. So even though there's blank space on Tuesday and Friday, there's activity happening. So library programs and adventures are happening. You'll want to check back to the website for updates. And obviously, Amy will be getting us all nice communications, keeping us in the loop and updating us as we go. If you want to get on that constant contact list and aren't already there, well, the easiest thing to do is join, and we'll get you onto all of our lists. Otherwise, just send Amy an email and she'll add you to the constant contact list too. I think that's it. Yep, pass the baton.
Thanks, Benjamin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm actually going to pause really quick to see if there's any questions. We've been talking for a long time at you, which I don't love all the time. So I am trying to figure out if I can see the chat at the same time as sharing my screen, but I think I'm going to have to stop. So please feel free to come off mute, introduce yourself, or ask a question in person if you have to, but I'm going to just quickly scroll the chat and see if anyone... Oh yeah, everyone loves the young professionals. I'm sure that I think you guys have probably been monitoring that. You can also join us if you're young at heart. I've been told by Tommy Vaughn directly that I'm not too old.
Betsy's been doing a great job replying to in the chat. And I did ask the individual who was looking for being listed to send an email. I think there was another question that I put in our notes to try to go back to. Someone was asking about living in Lisle, Illinois, and what a location would be to procure compost near there. So I was thinking I would just put the map, the link with the map in there, but if anyone's on the call who knows exactly the best procurement out in Lisle, just come off mute and help.
I don't know that I would know the best, but I do know that Green Soil was they provided compost for an event in Brookfield before.
Thank you, Jen.
And thanks. I also saw that Jen put something in the chat about an event happening next Monday about new legislation that's coming down the pipe in Illinois. So this is really exciting. They have their own website. It's feedandconserveil.org. If you want to know more information about how you can get involved with that. So please do visit that website. It's very simple and straightforward and directs you on all the information you need to know about the bills, how to take action if you need to, and just educate yourself about what exciting times. It's always an exciting time to compost in Illinois, but this is especially an exciting time this year as things are really moving in the state. So I feel really proud to be part of the state and part of these groups. Okay.
Thank you, Amy. I would also just say that this is a chance for you to ask questions and understand more about why the bills are the way they are, and then to take action. We are definitely going to be spending some of the time during this hour helping people get connected where they need to be connected. And So please join us.
Okay. All right. So typically also at this time we have committee updates, but we are running short on time. So if you want to figure out all the committees that are on that are part of the Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition, please do go to our website and figure out a way to plug in that feels right for you. No pressure at all to do that. But if we are always seeking new ideas, new people, new energy into our committees. That's really what makes everything so wonderful about IFSCC is everyone's participation and collaboration. I'm going to turn it back over to Amy Martucci to talk about this raffle that we have.
Stories. I missed Compost Cafe, and then I loved how Merlan was centering stories, because I feel that is a good energy that we need to keep going with in regards to soil health and compost and all the work we have ahead in Illinois. A little backstory about this book is that, as Merlan said, one of the board members of the United States Composting Council is a community composter and started LA Compost, and his name is Michael Martinez. So we'll be involved in the cafe, but also gave some books for us to get us started with getting the word out about this sustainable communities begin with compost. So we wanted to know if there was anyone on this call who has a birthday today. And if you could put your name in the chat. We're doing this old school. We're not having any draw a name or looking through a spreadsheet. If you have your birthday today, can you put your name in the chat? And if it's not today, maybe it's tomorrow. You can put your name in the chat. I'm going to give it a minute for today or tomorrow. Merlan and I were laughing because when we said, how are we going to raffle off the book? We came up with the same idea. So it must be good. If it's not today or tomorrow, do you have a birthday? I was going to say within this week was my next thing. Within this week, Erlene's birthday was Saturday. I think we have a winner because it was within this week. We were going to raffle this off. Erlene has a lot of contacts and being involved in composting for 14 years. Am I right, Erlene?
Yeah.
Yay.
You know what? There's another person here, and I wonder if they have children and if they would, if that seems like I would be perfectly okay with going to a house with.
The daughter's 6th birthday is tomorrow. Is this who you're thinking of, Crystal Johnson?
I see March 6th, Alejandra.
Yes, me.
Alejandra, your birthday is March 6th. Okay, because I was looking at somewhere else in the chat. Erlene sounds like she wants to gift you with this book. We will settle up. Alejandra, can you put your email address in the chat so that I can make certain that we ship this?
Thank you so much.
Yay! Yay! Thank you, Erlene. That's very generous of you too. I'm sorry, I was trying to do 2 things at the same time.
No
I'm gonna
worries.
get that email address. If anyone has updates, also this would be a great time while I grab that.
Amy, this is John Lardner. I just want to let everybody on the call know that we have our executive committee candidates in line to be approved by the board for this coming year, and let everyone know that IFSCC will be in good hands for the next 2 years.
Thanks, John. Great update.
I guess to piggyback on that, if you're interested in board participation, do touch base with John. We'll be having the election in May.
I want to give a big thank you to those that came into the room new. And I also wanted to say that we will be able to follow up, like Amy said earlier in this presentation and this recorded meeting. I have the email addresses for folks who registered, and I'd love to share this presentation and also invite you to be a little bit more part of our communications, which is twice a month. You'll be able to be on meetings similar to this, but learn from experts and be able to be a part of the IFSCC monthly on Mondays at noon. So look forward to an email coming from the IFSCC, And I want to also put a big thank you to Amy D for putting so much time going back and forth with screen and also slides. Seems kind of wonky, but it really helps to get people familiar with the communications that already exist rather than recreating them. So I'm a big believer in that. And the tech team that has pulled together the ICAW tab, Jen Dowd and Caroline French and Merlan and I have been really trying to work on this since November to be able to communicate as much as possible so that people can participate at any level, whether you're a host or a participant. So I think ICAW is off to a great start, and get those libraries and park districts involved as well as the municipalities and maybe you yourself. So follow up with me, illinoiscompost@gmail.com, if there's something that didn't get answered on the presentation today for sure.
And we'll try to get a follow-up from CREF about those posters. And as soon as we get it, we'll get the information onto our website. And Amy will again share responsibly through communication outlets.
I'm actually doing a training for CREF on Wednesday, so I'll see if I can check in too and find out what's happening with posters.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of our new people. We really appreciate this collaboration and are glad that you're here with us.